One of my interests in the world as Mahdi Shaheeb Sher is Hollywood. I have disfavourable opinions of Hollywood. I think I think that Hollywood creates kind of an opinion in the world with the people who watch the Hollywood films. I think Hollywood films are quite action orientated, and they seem to be very American in their view and kind of their vision. I think one second. I think that Hollywood is I think that Hollywood is kind of America in the world. It's some kind of a showpiece in the world. I think it's very American. It seems to sound American, but I think that the problem with Hollywood is that it kind of monopolizes all of our vision of film in the world. If you look at where the film is in the world, it's all from Hollywood. There's no European cinema, there's no Russian cinema, there's no African cinema or Asian cinema. It's all Hollywood cinema in the world. So what we see and how we perceive the world is pretty much down to what we watch with Hollywood. And I think that's very damaging for the world, because what we see and watch with Hollywood is pretty much all American. It's like American candy or something. So I think that it is very American, and that's the problem with Hollywood. It's very American. So it's very colourful. It's very much American. And I think it's people like Tom Cruise who give Hollywood a bad name. He has a cheesy grin, and he has pretentiousness with his masculinity. I think it's those types of actors, and it's Russell Crowe as well. I think Russell Crowe gives Hollywood a bad name as well, because I think that he's primarily an Australian actor, and I think he identifies very closely with Australia. So I think that could be a negative influence on Hollywood. And then we have Sandra Bullock as well. I think she's a negative influence on Hollywood, primarily because I don't think Sandra Bullock can act. That's why she's a negative influence. I think she puts a lot of effort into her acting, but I don't think she has any acting talent at all. So I think that's why Sandra Bullock is perhaps a negative influence on Hollywood. And there's Cameron Diaz as well. I think she's a negative influence on Hollywood, primarily because I think she has kind of like a very unusual behaviour and character with the smile that she has. She seems to have a very unusual behaviour with the smile that she has. So I think she could be some kind of a negative influence in Hollywood. And I think we have other actors who've been in Hollywood for over 20 years, maybe 30 years, and that's a long time to be in Hollywood, because I think that most of the acting talent with Hollywood and acting, I think acting is a young person's profession. And I think that most of these actors have been in Hollywood for over 30 years. So I think that acting is a young profession. And I think that Hollywood could pick up the world, or perhaps benefit the world a little bit more with fresh young talent. So I think it's a little bit unusual and concerning that most of these old actors have been in Hollywood for 30 years and they're pretty much doing 60% of the films that come out of Hollywood, that have come out of Hollywood. So they are kind of the main actors of Hollywood. I think they kind of come from the 70s. We have the John Travolta as well. I think he's a negative influence in Hollywood as well. I think he comes from the 70s. I think Tom Cruise comes from the 70s as well, and perhaps Sandra Bullock and Cameron Diaz as well. And we have other actors as well. I think they kind of did those films in the 70s and kind of did those dramatic films in the 80s, and they did quite a few in the 90s, and now they've done a few from then onwards. But I think that Hollywood is a very negative influence on the world because people really do identify with Hollywood and they kind of live their lives through Hollywood and the perceptions they draw by what they watch in cinema and TV. So I think that Hollywood is maybe some kind of a issue in the world. I think it could be something. I think that the world could benefit quite a lot by looking at how people view Hollywood. So that's my view on Hollywood.